Okay, how to take your Gtech AirRAM apart. First thing I'm going to do is remove these Phillips screws here, here, here and here. Okay, so I've removed those screws. So now notice that two of them obviously long and two are quite short. The long one goes at the back here and the short one at the front. So these screws allow you to remove the brush rollers. They simply pull out. I'll say simply. There we go. That's one. And number two here. Okay, so that's handy if you want to clean, take the rollers out and clean them. You can now get to the roller and get rid of any hairs or whatever. Oops. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is remove these screws in here. One here, one here, and one here. Okay, so actually I removed this screw here, this one here, and this one here. And note that the middle one here, sorry about the camera work, the middle one here is the longest of the three. By the way, if you're wondering what type of bit to use, you probably can't see that, but it's a Torx T10. Quite a small Torx bit you need there. Okay, so I've removed those three screws, so this then releases this piece of plastic here. Okay, that's the kind of front bumper bar of the vacuum. Always keep the screws together. Whenever you take a piece out, always keep the screws together so you know which screws hold down which part. Okay, so now I'm going to put the camera down again and I'm going to remove the Torx screw in here and the one here as well. Okay, I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so I've removed those two screws and now the front part of the top part of the bumper bar, I should say, will come out. Again, I'm going to keep those screws together in there so I know which screws do what. And now I'm going to remove these screws here. These are the ones that hold down the motor housing. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so I've removed these four screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm now going to put the camera down again and flip the machine over. Sorry I have to keep stopping and starting the video, it's because it's just me working on this. I've got no cameraman or anything, so unfortunately I have to keep pressing pause all the time, so catch you back again in a minute. Okay, so now I've turned the machine over. The first thing we can do now it's flipped back over, is remove the front housing here. This just comes off because we removed the screws underneath. This bit just comes off now. So now we're left with the drive, the brush bar drive gearbox here, and actually in this unit I have here as usual with these machines, the plastic gear is stripped, so when you turn it on it makes a horrendous grinding noise. So the reason for taking this machine apart is to try and replace this gear, which I'll show you in a second. Okay, moving on then. Next thing I'm going to do here is remove, I can't remember now, I think we're good to go. I think we can just lift this unit out now actually. Let me put the camera down again, and all I'm going to do is lift this unit up and it'll actually pop out. It's quite solid. Let me just put the camera down. In fact, what I should say is I'm going to remove these two screws here, so let me do that now. Whip these screws out. Okay, they're stuck. There we go. It's difficult taking things apart with one hand. Okay, now I think, yeah, there we go. So this lifts out. There we go. that whole unit comes out, and within this unit you have the drive motor here and the fan at the back there, and the gearbox at the front here. So this clips in. You see, not very good light in here, but these are the power connectors, and they clip in down here. So let me just show you that again. So when you've removed those two screws, it lifts up and out. Simple as that. And inside the unit here, we can see the power cables coming through here, in here as well. So make sure that you don't disturb these power cables, because they're kind of looped in a certain way. So when you're using the hoover, and obviously the handle's going up and down or whatever, you're not snagging these cables or doing anything like that. And that's all you need to do to get to the motor. That's the only screws you need to take out. It's quite simple. I've done all this in 5 minutes or so. It's quite a nice little unit, quite well made. Let's have a look at this gearbox now. Okay, so to get to this gearbox then, what I'm going to do is remove this screw, screw at the back there, and I think that's it. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so there's one screw I forgot to tell you about, and it's the one, let me just balance it, the one here. So screw here, the one there, and then when you've done that, this grey top bit here kind of pulls out. Let me see if I can do it with one hand. It's a bit tricky. There we go, that comes out. Put that to one side, and then we have this plastic bit here with the AirRAM writing. This it kind of clips out. It's a little bit tricky, but it lifts up from the back, and we have to kind of separate it from the front of the gearbox. Just there we go, and it comes out. It latches in under the front of the gearbox there, and of course when you put it back together, put it in under the gearbox first, a bit like this. It's kind of a bit tricky. Anyway, you'll figure it out. It kind of has to clip in under there. Okay, so that's that bit out of the way. So now we can actually get to the gearbox, and I'm going to remove this screw here, this one, and this one as well, and this one here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws, and I'm going to do that now. Okay, so I've removed those screws, and now, all being well, the front section of the gearbox here will come out. There we go. And then we can see the offending gear. So let me see if I can balance this properly. Okay, so here we can see the belt drive from the motor. So back of the motor down to a belt drive, and we have a gear, a plastic gear here. Obviously a very weak point. It's a metal gear here. The actual drive shaft's metal, a couple of bearings, and the plastic bevel gear here. So to remove this, you can take out the drive shaft here, leave the belt in place. That's the drive shaft and bevel gear, and here is the plastic drive gear. Now on this one we can, although it's not very clear, I'm afraid, sorry about the poor quality camera work, but this is stripped. I mean, this is completely had it. All those gears are completely stripped, and it was making a horrendous noise, horrendous grinding noise, and eventually it just stopped. So unfortunately you can't buy these as spares. You'd have to salvage the part from another vacuum, which is a real shame, because obviously now if you can't get this part, it's rendered useless. Hopefully Gtech will improve this design, because I think that's quite a bad design really. It's obviously a weak point. This should be brass, maybe made of brass or aluminium. It's just not strong enough for the job. But hopefully this video will help you if you need to take yours apart or you want to confirm what's wrong with it. Maybe try and repair it. If anyone finds a bevel gear the same as this, or that they can modify to fit, please let me know. But there you go.